I came home early to find my wife's laptop open. Emails to her lover detailing how they would take my house, my money, even my dignity. 15 years later, I'm standing in my mountain cabin while she stares at the peeling walls of government housing, realizing too late that betrayal always leaves its own scars. I'm Mark Thompson, 43, construction manager, and a man who knows the weight of a betrayal and the taste of a comeback. These days, I measure my life in mountain sunrises and the loyal snuffle of my dog, Rusty. The rest? Well, let's just say karma's got a way of settling scores. I met my ex, Sarah, in the summer of 2007. I was 28, a construction worker with calloused hands and big dreams. I'd been saving every penny, working overtime, imagining a future where I could build something solid, something lasting. Sarah was a paralegal at a law firm in Raleigh, sharp as a blade, with a smile that could make you forget your own name. Her eyes sparkled when she laughed, and her voice had this way of pulling you in, making you feel like you were the only person in the room. We met at a friend's barbecue, her standing by the grill, holding a beer, her hair catching the sunlight. I was smitten, understood? I was smitten. We fell fast. Too fast, maybe. But I didn't care. I loved her. I loved the way she'd talk about her day, her voice rising and falling like a song. I loved the way she'd curl up next to me on the couch, her head on my shoulder, like we were already building a life together. I loved the way she made me feel like anything was possible. We married a year later, in 2008. It was a small ceremony, just family and a few close friends, in a little church outside Raleigh. I remember her smile that day, bright, radiant, like she'd won something. I thought it was me she'd won. I thought it was us. I stood there in my rented tux, my heart so full it hurt, and I promised her forever. I meant it, every word. By 2009, we'd bought a house, a 2-story colonial in a quiet suburb just outside the city. White picket fence, wraparound porch, a backyard big enough for the kids we planned to have someday. It wasn't fancy, but it was ours. I poured everything into that place. Every paycheck, every weekend, every drop of sweat. I'd come home from the job site, covered in dust, and spend hours fixing the leaky faucet, painting the walls, planting flowers in the garden. Sarah said she loved it. She'd stand on the porch, her arms crossed, smiling at the roses I'd planted for her. "This is our forever home, Mark," she'd say. I believed her. I believed every word. But the cracks started to show. Small at first, so small I barely noticed. A missed dinner here, a cold glance there. She'd stay late at work, claiming deadlines, her phone buzzing long after office hours. I'd ask what was wrong, and she'd brush me off. "Nothing, Mark. Just tired. You don't understand how stressful my job is." I wasn't blind. I saw the way she'd hide her phone when I walked into the room, the way she'd slip it under her pillow at night, like it was a secret she couldn't share. I'd ask, my voice soft, trying not to push. "Sarah, is something going on? You can tell me." And she'd snap, her eyes flashing. "Why don't you trust me, Mark? Why are you always hovering? Can't I have a moment to myself?" I didn't want to be that guy. The jealous one. The paranoid one. The one who checks his wife's phone or questions her every move. So I let it go. I told myself it was stress. Her job. The mortgage. The weight of our new life together. I told myself I was imagining things. That love meant trust. And trust meant letting go of doubt. I should have listened to my gut. Understood? I should have listened. It was November 2009 when the truth hit me like a freight train. I came home early from a job site. It was raining, a cold, relentless downpour that soaked me through my jacket. The house was dark, except for a faint glow coming from the upstairs office. I called out for Sarah, my voice echoing in the quiet. No answer. I climbed the stairs, slow, my boots squishing on the hardwood floor we'd spent weeks refinishing. My heart was pounding, though I didn't know why. It was like my body knew something my mind hadn't caught up to, like I knew something was wrong. The office door was cracked open. I pushed it, and there it was, her laptop, open on the desk, the screen glowing in the dark room, emails, dozens of them, to some guy named Greg, a lawyer at her firm. My hands shook as I sat down. I didn't want to read them, but I couldn't stop myself. One email, then another, then another. My stomach twisted, bile rising in my throat. They weren't just emails. They were love letters, plans, schemes. Sarah wasn't just cheating, she was plotting. She and Greg had it all figured out. She'd file for divorce, claim I was unstable, emotionally distant, maybe even abusive. She'd push for the house, the savings, everything we'd built together. She'd even hired a lawyer, Greg's buddy from the firm, to make sure it was airtight. They'd been planning it for months, while I was working overtime to pay the mortgage, while I was planting roses for her, while I was dreaming of our future. I stood there, frozen, the rain pounding against the windows. I didn't cry, didn't yell, didn't throw the laptop across the room, though I wanted to. I just understood. Sarah wasn't the woman I'd married. She wasn't the woman who'd stood across from me in that church, promising forever. She was a stranger, a schemer, a thief, and I was her pawn. I didn't confront her that night. I couldn't. My head was spinning, my heart a tangle of rage and grief. I kept thinking about the house, the late nights I'd worked to pay for it, the dreams we'd built there, board by board, nail by nail. I couldn't let her take it. Not like that. Not after everything. So I got smart. I started digging. I copied her emails, every single one, saving them to a USB drive I hid in my toolbox. I found bank statements she'd tucked away in a locked drawer. Statements for an account I didn't know about. She'd been funneling money for months. Thousands of dollars. Our savings. My savings. Money I'd earned breaking my back on job sites while she planned her escape. I hired a lawyer, not one of Greg's buddies. A guy named Tom, a friend of a friend from the construction crew. He was expensive, but he was good. I met him at his office, a small, cluttered space downtown. I handed him the USB drive, the bank statements, everything. He leaned back in his chair, his eyes narrowing as he read through the emails. "Mark," he said, "this is war. She's not just leaving you, she's trying to bury you." He was right. Understood? He was right. Sarah filed for divorce 2 weeks later, November 23rd, 2009. I'll never forget the date. She didn't know I'd seen the emails, didn't know I'd been preparing, didn't know I was ready to fight. Her lawyer came at me hard. They claimed I was emotionally distant, that I'd abandoned her emotionally, that I'd failed to provide a stable home. They pushed for the house, the savings, even my truck, the beat-up Ford I'd driven since I was 20. They painted me as the bad guy, the neglectful husband who'd driven her into someone else's arms. But Tom was a bulldog. He had the emails, the bank statements, proof of her affair, proof of her scheming. We countersued, laying out her plan in black and white. We didn't just want the house, we wanted justice. The courtroom was brutal. Every hearing was a knife to the gut. Sarah sat there, cool as ice, playing the victim. She'd dab her eyes with a tissue, her voice trembling as she lied about me, about us. Greg was in the gallery, smirking like he'd already won, his tie crisp, his hair slicked back. I wanted to punch him. I wanted to scream at her, to shake her and ask why. Why she'd betrayed me. Why she'd thrown away everything we'd built. But I didn't. I stayed calm, focused. I sat there in my one good suit, my hands clasped tight to keep them from shaking. I listened as Tom dismantled her lies, one by one. I understood what I had to do. The divorce dragged on for months. Every hearing was a battle, every lie a fresh wound. Sarah's stories grew wilder. She said I'd been cruel, neglectful. She said I'd yelled at her, made her feel unsafe. She cried on cue, her mascara smudging just enough to look convincing. But the truth has a way of cutting through the noise. Tom presented the emails in court. I watched the judge's face harden as he read them. Sarah's lawyer stammered, trying to spin it, but the damage was done. Greg's smirk faded, his face paling as Tom read aloud an email where Sarah called me an obstacle to her new life. In the end, the judge ruled in my favor. June 2010, I kept the house, half the savings, my truck. I thought it was over. I thought I'd won. I was wrong. So very wrong. Sarah didn't stop. She couldn't. Losing the house burned her up inside. I heard through mutual friends that she was furious, telling anyone who'd listened that I'd stolen the house from her, that I'd ruined her life. She and Greg moved in together, renting a fancy apartment downtown. They partied, spent money like it was water, living like they'd already won the war. Meanwhile, I was drowning. The house was mine, but the mortgage wasn't. The construction industry was still reeling from the 2008 crash. Jobs were scarce, and I was barely making ends meet. I'd walk through the house at night, the rooms echoing with memories, the kitchen where we'd cooked dinners together, the living room where we'd watched movies, her feet tucked under my legs, the bedroom where we'd whispered about our future. It was too much. The house wasn't a home anymore. It was a ghost, a reminder of everything I'd lost. I'd sit on the porch at night, staring at the roses I'd planted for her, now wilting in the summer heat. I'd think about the promises we'd made, the life we'd planned, the kids we'd never have. I couldn't stay. Understood? I couldn't stay, so I sold it. August 2011. I put the house on the market, took the money, and moved to a small apartment on the edge of Raleigh. It was a one-bedroom, barely 600 square feet, with thin walls and a noisy neighbor. But it was a fresh start, a clean slate. I packed up what little I had left, my clothes, my tools, a few photos I couldn't bear to throw away, and left the rest behind. It hurt, letting go of that dream. It hurt more than I can say, but I had to. I had to let go of the house, of Sarah, of the life I thought we'd have. I had to start over. Life moved on, slow and steady. I got a new job, managing a construction crew. The pay was better, the hours more stable. I started saving again, bit by bit. By 2014, I'd bought a small cabin in the mountains, an hour outside Raleigh. It wasn't too much, a one-bedroom with a leaky roof and a wood stove that smoked when the wind was wrong. But it was mine. No ghosts, no memories, just me and the quiet of the trees. I'd sit on the porch at night, listening to the crickets, the stars brighter than I'd ever seen in the city. I'd think about Sarah, about what she'd done, about the life we'd lost. But the anger was fading, replaced by something else. Not peace, not yet, but a kind of understanding. I was rebuilding. Not just a home, but a life. Sarah, though, her life was unraveling. I didn't keep tabs on her. Not really. I didn't want to. But word gets around in a town like Raleigh. Greg wasn't the prince she thought he was. He had debts, big ones, gambling, bad investments, a side hustle that went south, the money Sarah got in the divorce, that $15,000 she'd fought so hard for. Gone in a year, spent on vacations, fancy dinners, a lifestyle they couldn't afford. They fought, constantly. Friends said Sarah would show up to work with red eyes, her voice hoarse from screaming matches. By 2013, they'd broken up. Greg moved on to someone else, leaving Sarah with nothing but a lease she couldn't pay. She bounced from one rental to another, each place smaller, shabbier, further from the life she'd wanted. Her job at the law firm? She lost it. Word was, Greg's buddies turned on her when he did. They didn't need her anymore, not without him to vouch for her. She tried freelancing, picking up odd jobs, but the legal world is small, and her reputation was shot. By 2015, she was in government housing, a small gray apartment in a concrete complex on the edge of town. No white picket fence, no wraparound porch, no roses, just a cracked window and a view of a parking lot, littered with cigarette butts and broken glass. I heard about it from a mutual friend, someone who'd seen her at a grocery store, struggling to carry bags to her car. She's not the same, Mark, they said. She looks tired, lost. I didn't gloat, didn't celebrate, didn't even smile. I just felt nothing. A quiet understanding. Sarah had wanted it all, the house, the life, the win. She'd schemed, lied, betrayed. She'd played a game she thought she could control. And for what? I saw her once, years later. Summer of 2024, at a gas station on the outskirts of Raleigh. I was filling up my truck, the same beat-up Ford I'd fought to keep. She was across the lot, loading groceries into a rusted sedan. Her hair was graying, her face lined with exhaustion. She didn't see me at first, and I almost didn't recognize her. The woman who'd once lit up a room was gone, replaced by someone smaller, quieter, weighed down by years of bad choices. She looked up, our eyes meeting for a split second. I don't know if she knew it was me. I don't know if she cared. I didn't say anything, didn't wave, didn't nod. I just paid for my gas, got in my truck and drove away. 15 years later, I'm okay. More than okay. I've got my cabin in the mountains, my work managing the crew, a dog named Rusty who follows me everywhere. The cabin's not much, but it's home. I fixed the roof last summer, built a deck out back where I can watch the sunrise. I've got a few friends, guys from the crew who come over for beers on weekends. I've got a life, not the one I planned, not the one I dreamed of at 28, but a good one, a real one. Sarah, she's still in that apartment, still scraping by, still chasing something she'll never find. I don't know what she's looking for. Redemption, maybe, or a way back to the life she thought she'd have. I don't know, and I don't care. Not anymore. I don't hate her. Hate's a heavy thing to carry, like a bag of bricks you drag around for years. I let it go, like I let go of the house, the dreams, the promises. I let it go because I had to, because I wanted to live. Life balances the scales, not with revenge, not with fire, but with time, with truth, with the quiet strength of moving on. And I'm still here, standing, rebuilt. Understood? I'm still here.